Hi guys, so welcome back to my guide on how to write a game book, a series based off my experiences, mistakes and successes. Okay, in this part I want to talk about the nitty-gritty of structuring and putting your game book together. So, with a focus on numbering your entries and keeping track of keywords, game mechanics, and so on. This episode is not about story structure and narrative choices. I cover those in previous episodes, episodes 3 and 4 of this series. I'll leave a direct link in the description below to those. Before I start, if you're enjoying this series, please leave a like. It really helps. And also comment your own methods and experiences of putting a game book together. I'm really interested to read and hear about how other people approach their writing and what has worked for them. Right. Firstly, I want to say, yes, I'm aware that there is software out there that will probably just organise your game book for you. It will provide you with templates and all kinds of bells and whistles. I'm very old and I'm very old school. I don't like to leave anything in the hands of technology that I can potentially do myself. And I think putting your game book together and structuring it is just such a big and important thing that I just like to feel in control of it at all stages, and I don't like to kind of give away that control to a third-party program or whatever. So I'm going to be explaining my system. Okay, so when I come to write a game book, I start by setting up a grid or sheet with all of my numbered entries. I'll be honest, very often I'll just use a page in a notepad for this, but going from experience, things do kind of get pretty messy. So more recently, I've actually tried to be more sensible and started using an Excel sheet. In Excel, you can populate columns with numbers super quickly and easily. Simply type in the first two numbers on your first column to tell Excel the number increments that you want. Then mouse over the bottom right corner of the cell until you get a filled in cross symbol. Drag down your page and then let go, and Excel will fill in the numbers for you. And just repeat with each column to populate your sheet with the numbers that you want. Numbers of entries will differ for the size of game book you are planning to write. I'd say a standard rule of thumb is that the average game book is around 300 to 400 entries. Could end up being as high as 500, 600, even more if you're doing a bigger book, or maybe you're writing lots of smaller narrative entries but have a lot of them, such as in an open world game book. For me, I usually start with 300 entries. I can then add another 50 or 70 or whatever as I'm kind of filling up my book, and once I'm aware that I need more space, I can just add it in. So my numbers kind of creep up as and when I need them, but my rule of thumb is I tend to go with starting off with 300. With that done, I move on to the actual writing. So how I approach the writing is that I write all the entries sequentially in a Word document. So what I mean by that is that I'm not writing an entry, then scrolling down 600 pages to get to entry 524, then writing my next entry, then scrolling back up to entry 325 and then writing that entry. That is just time consuming. It's completely chaotic. It's not what you want to do at all. So what I do is I just have a Word document and I literally will write entry number 1. Then if there's choices to entry number 15 and entry number 30, I will write entry 15 right underneath it, and I'll write entry 30 potentially right underneath it. And I'll go on like that, jumping back if I need to look back at different branching choices, but everything is in one document. So yeah, why do I do that? Because it's a lot easier to kind of track back. If you need to go back and check what you've written, if you need to do a word check on maybe looking for a keyword, if you're checking for a certain name, maybe you're looking for a repeat of game mechanics, like how many skill points am I assigning in this section, or experience points. Basically what I'm saying is avoid kind of writing in a master document anytime soon. That comes at the very end. So really what you want to be thinking about is, even if you have lots of them, to have these documents that are linear and have all your entries following one another in a narrative sense. Then what we do is, when you assign entries, you can then go to your Excel sheet and then you can color in the relevant cell so that you know that you have used that number. So this is how I kind of progress. I continue, I write in my document. I might have one document per quest or zone or whatever narrative way you're breaking up your book. But here's a couple of things to think about when you're assigning your entry numbers. Try, obviously, to avoid putting numbers close together when they relate to a similar area or narrative sequence. So you don't want to have your reader having a situation where they might read an entry on the left-hand page and then one of the actual resulting choices is actually on the other page. Can you imagine how bad that is? Because, it's a quick glance over and you're like, oh, if I pick that one, I'm going to end up falling down the pit and breaking every bone in my body. So you really want to avoid that. It's bad and it's a sure sign of an amateur writer, trust me. Instead, you want to scatter your entries, leaving some distance between them. So allowing some breathing room between entries so that your reader isn't accidentally stumbling on an outcome that they might not want to read related to what they're currently exploring or experiencing. Another important thing is try and avoid having your entries at complete opposing ends of your book. I never do this, and I tend to keep my sort of narrative sections, within, say, 100 entries of each other, roughly. And then, that's the way I do it. Otherwise, it can become quite tiresome for a reader if they're going from one end of the book right to the other end of the book, to the beginning of the book, to the other end of the book. So try and think about maybe your early sections are in, maybe that, your first 100, 150 sections, and then moving out as you kind of expand your story. This can also give your reader a little bit of a sense of progression too, that by the time they're getting to this sort of later entries, in Legion of Shadow here, we're up to 723, and you're kind of in the later stages of the book by now. And I just think that psychologically gives the reader a kind of nice feeling, in my opinion, of having fought their way into the latter stages of the book. Okay, so, and that could be just a me thing. You don't have to do that, but I kind of like that. So for the entirety of writing my game book, this is pretty much what I do. So I write my entries in a linear Word document, and then I just go and flick to my Excel sheet to track what entries I've used. You can also use your Excel sheet to keep track of keywords when they appear, which can be super useful. Or other major game events or mechanics. You can just simply drag out the cells in your Excel sheet so that you can then add descriptions if you want. This can feel a chore, I know, but it's really helpful when it comes to checking your book. Trust me. At the very end, when you're editing and you're proofing, because you just don't want to miss anything important that's related to game mechanics. And yeah, it's happened to me many times, and that's why I'm mentioning it. Okay, so once I've finished writing the entries for the game book, this is when I finally create my master Word document. I put all the numbers in, and then it is I suppose, laborious job of copying and pasting across from my linear documents into the master document. Yes, it is time consuming, but it's probably one of my favorite parts because you're kind of at the end, really. You're getting to that you're on that final stage, and you're literally seeing your game book come together as you are slotting in finally all of the pieces into one document. You're literally you are the architect, and you're finally now the builder, I suppose, putting it all together. And what you're going to end up with is your master document, which is literally your final manuscript to print out, to proof, edit, and so on. And of course, if you need to tweak and make changes, you probably will always need to do so, but you also have your Excel sheet as a kind of fantastic backup tool that will give you that big picture of your assigned entries, which is super helpful if for any reason you need to kind of change some entries around or add others in, or if you need to look back at some key information that you might need to check, like keywords, game mechanic progression, and so on. Right, that's how I approach the structuring and linking of my game books. Some people might find my method strange, as I said before. I don't know. I mean, for me, it works. It enables me to picture and understand each stage, and I feel control of each and every aspect of the writing and the construction of my game and story. And as I said, I try and avoid using any kind of third-party programs that are kind of designed to probably do some of this work for you. I like to handcraft stuff, and I just like to feel in control. Okay, so there you have it. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts and opinions are. Everyone will have a different method that works for them, and that's what's most important, blatantly. At the end of the day, it's about what works for you, and it's about arriving at that final manuscript stage where you feel satisfied, that you've done everything, that everything's included there, and that everything is making sense to you as the author. So yeah, thank you for listening. As I said, please leave comments, let me know what you think, and good luck with your writing, really. So thank you.